Good morning. You're watching World News live from Warsaw. My name is Diana Skaya. We begin this morning with a pivotal moment in the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. Now, all eyes are on Saudi Arabia, where U.S. and Ukrainian officials have gathered for high-stakes peace talks set for Tuesday. Now, the discussions could play a crucial role in the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations amidst the war with Russia. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has reportedly told his delegation that securing a minerals agreement with Ukraine will not be sufficient to restore U.S. military support or intelligence sharing. Now, while Trump is in favor of the deal, which would grant the U.S. a share in Ukraine's mineral resources, he expects Ukrainian President Zelensky to show more flexibility in peace talks. Now, according to several American news outlets, Trump is urging Zelensky to consider tough compromises, including the possibility of ceding territory to Russia. Trump is also pushing for Ukraine to move forward with elections, which have been paused under martial law, and even suggested that Zelensky consider stepping down. Now, Tuesday's meeting will provide the United States with an opportunity to assess whether Ukraine is truly willing to make the difficult concessions necessary to end the war, and this according to U.S. officials. And staying on Russia and Ukraine, Russia launched yet another attack on Ukraine overnight, targeting multiple regions of the country. Now, a Russian strike on the Zaporizhzhia region last night damaged 2 residential buildings, leaving 2 people injured. Russia also attacked the Nikopol region, destroying residential buildings, houses, and power lines. Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has issued a report stating Russia has lost over 1,000 soldiers over the past day. Elon Musk has de-escalated a dispute with Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stating that he would never cut off Ukraine's access to Starlink. Now, in a post that Musk took to his platform X, Musk wrote, quote, "To be extremely clear, no matter how much I disagree with the Ukraine policy, Starlink will never turn off its terminals." Now, his comments aim to resolve a heated exchange over his earlier remarks about potentially limiting Starlink's role in Ukraine. Our Pavel Chaskowski has this report.
This is a Starlink terminal on the Ukrainian battlefield. Since the outbreak of the full-scale war, tens of thousands of such devices have been supplying the Ukrainian military and civilians with internet connection. However, as Elon Musk, Starlink's owner, remains an active part of Donald Trump's administration, the future of this support is uncertain.
I literally challenged Putin to one-on-one physical combat over Ukraine, and my Starlink system is the backbone of the Ukrainian army. Their entire front line would collapse if I turned it off. What I am sickened by is years of slaughter in a stalemate that Ukraine will inevitably lose. Anyone who really cares, really thinks and really understands wants the meat grinder to stop. Peace now.
But Starlinks, used among others to operate drones, are not provided to Ukrainians for free. They are being paid for, and the ones who share this burden are Polish taxpayers.
Starlinks for Ukraine are paid for by the Polish Digitization Ministry at the cost of about $50 million per year. The ethics of threatening the victim of aggression apart, if SpaceX proves to be an unreliable provider, we will be forced to look for other suppliers.
This message from the Polish Foreign Minister, however, was met with a harsh response from the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Just making things up. No one has made any threats about cutting Ukraine off from Starlink, and say thank you, because without Starlink, Ukraine would have lost this war long ago, and Russians would be on the border with Poland right now.
The war of words between the heads of Polish and U.S. foreign affairs come after Rubio and Musk were reported to have had a row in front of President Donald Trump. But now Musk and Rubio seem to be in accord again, with the following response of the Starlink owner to the Polish foreign minister.
Be quiet, small man. You pay a tiny fraction of the cost, and there is no substitute for Starlink.
To which Polish foreign minister did not respond, but instead referred directly to his US counterpart.
Thank you, Marco, for confirming that the brave soldiers of Ukraine can count on the vital internet service provided jointly by the US and Poland. Together, Europe and the United States can help Ukraine to achieve a just peace.
And eventually, Elon Musk backed down, clearly stating that Starlink will never turn off its terminals, as Russians can jam all other communications. Turning off Starlink would be a major blow to Kiev, especially that Ukraine has already experienced a number of setbacks since the infamous Oval Office February spat, after which US military aid for Ukraine stopped, and since the US is no longer sharing its satellite imagery with Kiev, Russian heavy airstrikes have intensified, resulting in human casualties.
This is what happens when someone appeases barbarians. More bombs, more aggression, more victims. Another tragic night in Ukraine.
The US administration's appeasement policy towards Moscow was unsuccessful in the past, right before the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
In an interview with French broadcaster LCI, Polish President Andrzej Duda has expressed support for France extending its nuclear umbrella to include Poland. Now, speaking with LCI on Sunday, President Duda was asked about the prospect of France's nuclear defense reaching Polish soil. Now, without hesitation, Duda confirmed his approval and emphasized, quote, "Any form of cooperation with our allies that enhances our security is invaluable to us." Now, last week, French President Emmanuel Macron proposed extending his country's nuclear defense system in a televised address to the nation while warning of the Russian threat to Europe. Now, the French nuclear deterrent is air and sea-based, with Rafale fighter jets and nuclear submarines being able to strike at any time on the instruction of the French president alone. Now, the brainchild of the Cold War era, French President Charles de Gaulle, it was designed to be entirely independent from the United States. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy has vowed to unfreeze billions of dollars generated from Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich's Chelsea football club and send it to Ukraine to help the country win its fight against Russia. Now, Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea FC after the EU imposed sanctions against him following the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Abramovich and UK officials previously promised the funds from the sale would go to Ukraine. However, they remained in limbo due to a disagreement between the two sides. Meanwhile, Sébastien Lecornu, the French Minister of Defense, has announced that his country will use the interest from Russian assets to fund another 195 million euros in arms for Ukraine. Now, the officials shared the details, saying that the funds will be used for 155mm artillery shells and glide bombs for Mirage 2000 fighter jets France recently provided Kiev with. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the EU remains committed to phasing out Russian gas. Speaking at a briefing marking 100 days since her re-election, she acknowledged that loopholes still exist and need to be addressed.
It's worth to look at the political guidelines where I commit very clearly to phasing out the Russian gas, and I stay, of course, committed to that one. This is an absolute must. We've been successful, but we always see, of course, that there are loopholes where we have to be careful and we have to work on. And the fact that we excluded or tried to get rid of the over-dependency on Russian gas caused also enormous trouble energy-wise, but I think it's also a proof that when asked to act in a joint manner, what we did, you can get rid of this over-dependency and develop a secure and affordable energy market.
Moving on now to Bucharest in Romania, where protests erupted Sunday evening after the country's electoral body rejected the presidential candidacy of far-right populist Călin Georgescu. Now, the rejection came after Georgescu had filed his candidacy on Friday following the annulment by the country's top court of the first round of the presidential election held last year. Now, the Central Electoral Bureau cited a constitutional court ruling last year that canceled the election due to Georgescu's failure to comply with electoral regulations. Hundreds of angry supporters gathered outside BEC's headquarters, waving Romanian flags and chanting, "The last resort is another revolution." Now, protesters clashed with riot police, throwing stones and setting fires in the street. Meanwhile, Georgescu labeled the rejection as a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide. Now, the decision comes amidst ongoing political turmoil in Romania, fueled by allegations of Russian interference in the election, which have led to a criminal investigation against the candidates. Now, the rerun of the election is scheduled for May 4, with a runoff on May 18 if no candidate secures over 50% of the vote. And now we turn to Greenland, where the semi-autonomous Danish island is preparing for a historic vote. Now, on Tuesday, Greenlanders will decide the future of their strategically important land as U.S. President Donald Trump continues efforts to persuade them to join the United States. Sonia Gatabishchan reports from Nuuk.
The parliamentary elections in Greenland are fast approaching. With the rich cultural heritage and resurfacing talks of independence, the Greenlandic population is eager to carve out a future that reflects both their unique identity and values.
I think depending on which party gets the most elections, if we win, we want to secure our sovereign nation, that we have our own democracy that we fought for, and we don't want to be Americans, but we want to stay Greenlandic and stay focused on our way to make our own government and independence.
With Greenland being a self-governing territory of Denmark, one wonders what would be the price of its independence. The former finance minister gave us some clarity on that.
There are many different kinds of independence, but when it comes to the financial independence, I think what we are looking at is that we have to develop other sectors than only the seafood. We cannot be so dependent on only one sector within the economy. So that's why I stress that we need to actually focus on natural resources, but also tourism.
Greenland has been receiving a lot of attention lately, particularly due to President Donald Trump's interest in this Arctic island. However, at the heart of this land are its people, the cornerstone of its identity.
We come from the indigenous population called Inuit that lives across the Arctic. The difference between other indigenous populations around the world is that we are actually the majority. So 90% of the population living in Greenland are born in Greenland.
One of the indigenous people is Eva, who uses her talent to promote Greenlandic identity and empower those that wear her jewelry.
I use reindeer spine, the disc in between the spine. And I use fox fur and pearls. I think also with this, using the spine is the first thing that develop in the womb. So it's our first strength and our fundament.
Greenland is rich in a variety of resources such as minerals, oil, and natural gas, making it an attractive target for a variety of foreign nations looking to capitalize on its natural wealth. However, in conversation with us, the Greenlandic member of the Danish parliament emphasized that perhaps one resource is more important than all the others.
I would say the people of Greenland is the most important resource that we have, and especially our young people. I think it's really about nurturing the potential of the young people here in Greenland in order to make sure that we can stand even stronger on our own in the future.
Greenland has a population of approximately 56,000 people, with the majority of them identifying as ethnically Greenlandic. Greenlanders will cast their votes in the parliamentary elections on 11th of March. From Nuuk, for TVP World, Sonia Gatabishchan.
And with that, we end this edition of World News here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.